Welcome to another episode of Backyard Oasis, the show that is all about water. On today's show, we will join aquatics expert Chuck Thomas as he builds a monster waterfall on the side of a small mountain. This show has it all: big rocks, big machinery, and a lot of water. Chuck will talk with the landscape designer Jane Ross as she explains how to make this waterfall blend into its surroundings. Our plant expert Fred Spicer has another treat for your garden. And as always, we will take a couple of water breaks to give you more insightful tips on how to maintain your own backyard oasis. So stay tuned for an exciting show.
There's water in the brook running down to the stream. There's a bullfrog on the bank, baby, singing songs to me. There's fish down underneath that water, baby, saying, "Oh man, you'll never catch me." When water falling down from the sky up above makes everything green, makes my flowers fall in love. Saw a thorny Mr. Rosebush, baby, saddle up to Miss Foxy Glove.
Today's show is sponsored in part by Firestone Pond Guard Rubber Liners.
Clear water running down the mighty Mississippi.
Hey all you pond purists, we're out here on a truly unique and one-of-a-kind type of a project. We're getting to utilize the landscaping as we get a natural flow coming down the mountainside. We're tying it into a stream that's going to meander down, go under a bridge, and go into a retaining pond at the bottom. The landscape architect on this project wanted to utilize everything within the landscaping to make this look as a total natural and uncontrived type of a waterfall as possible. And as this thing progresses, you're going to really be surprised when we finish this thing. When this waterfall is up and running, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between this and the natural creek that's flowing right below us. The way we're beginning the job is we've done a little bit of basic excavation along the basin. We ran into a little bit of a trouble with our bridge. We're going to have to bring our crane in and set our little track hoe on the bottom side tomorrow, but for today what we're doing is we're having to pick these boulders up and place them on top of the liner and the underlayment that we've already laid in our previously excavated area. Stephen and the guys have begun placing the rocks as they come up the waterfall. We've got our liner down. We've got 2 layers of underlayment that I put on top of the liner, and this is an 8-ounce non-woven geotextile fabric, but what it's doing is because we've got a rock shelf immediately underneath our stack rock that we're doing, we're worried about getting some tearing and some puncturing of the liner. So we've got a good padding on top, and I've got a padding on bottom. So he's strapping the boulders, they're picking them up so that they can precisely place them exactly where they want them in the waterfall. The 3-inch hosing that's going to be running from the pump located at the lower end is be coming all the way up. It's inside the pond liner, and it's going to go up to an upper basin. When we finish this project, we'll come back in, we'll backfill to it. The landscaper will come in, dress everything up, and I think you'll just be totally surprised the way this project is going to turn out to just be a totally, in sync with nature look. It is going to be incredible the way this thing is going to flow and look like it's just a natural stream coming off the mountainside.
A project of this magnitude not only takes a lot of manpower, but it involves several landscape architects who are always on site to make sure that their design is being followed perfectly. This hillside provided many obstacles, the biggest being getting the huge boulders into place. We had to hire a local company to bring in a 35-ton crane capable of lifting and maneuvering these rocks safely down into the fall area. Renting a crane for the day isn't exactly inexpensive, but it was necessary in this case. Our crane operator will position the crane so that it can pick up our rocks and swing them over the retaining wall down to the construction crew.
This segment's for all you rock hounds, because this is what we're doing. We got us a crane over here We just got through setting one big boulder that weighed probably about a ton. This rock coming to us now is, I'd guesstimate it's probably around 700 pounds. When you get to working with rocks this large, of course, you can't pick them up and set them by hand. It's real important to use a piece of equipment where you've got the rock strapped like we're doing now. You can't take a piece of equipment, a backhoe or a track hoe, and set them on top of this liner and start moving it around, because the weight of these rocks will, is going to sit there and it's going to puncture a hole in the liner. So you can do precision work by hooking to these rocks with the straps on them, and you'll see in just a minute when we go to set this boulder how it's going to go exactly in place. We're going to line it, we're going to tweak it. If it's not in the right place, we'll pick it up and move it 2 or 3 inches. But this allows us to get the precision location and drop it right where we want it and not have to touch it again. So we'll set a few of these babies and you can see what all is involved. Boom up. Of course, we could wear a hard hat in this situation, but honestly, do you think that a hard hat's going to stop this rock? I mean, so we'll just watch ourselves. We're careful. We're using nylon straps. That picking capability of those is about 6,900 pounds when they're choked in the fashion that they are. If we did them in a loop fashion, you could pick up to 17,000 pounds. But like I said, these are heavy-duty nylon chokers, so there's no fear of breaking or dropping. So we'll set these things and see how she goes. I always look at the rock as it comes down. Also, I look for the side of the rock that's got the most character. I'll actually take it and spin it around and look at the rock, see what's got the most character to it. This is a good flat side. It's old, it's not been in the ground, so you can see there's got a lot of color to it. A lot of times you get these rocks out and they're going to have some discoloration to them, or they're going to be real plain, but this one's been exposed and it's got good color. Even on this side, you can see right in here, you got some moss and everything that's growing, so we'll elect. To me, this has what I call, character, more character than the other flat side. So we'll drop it in with this side facing out, which is going to be toward the stream bed. And then when you get plenty of moisture with the stream that's going to be running by, this moss and all this lichen is going to kick back in and really do well. So we'll go ahead and have him swing to the right just a little bit, Chris. Do just a little bit on our boom. Boom down just a little bit. Coming on the boom, coming on the boom. All right, hold that. And give me a little bit of cable. Cabling down, all the way in. That's good. Up, hold that.
It's time for a water break. If you have water lilies in your pond, they should be fertilized every 10 to 14 days with a fertilizer high in phosphorus. This will promote beautiful blooms to be enjoyed all growing season. Welcome back to Backyard Oasis. Chuck has begun placing boulders on what will be a huge waterfall. Let's check the progress that has been made.
Fernando, bring us some dirt and backfill against this, and we'll show these good folks at home how we build waterfalls. So we'll just end up, and once we've got the liner and the boulder in place, you can see, well, we're going to have one more layer of rock that's going to come in here, which isn't going to be probably no more than 3 inches, 4 inches in height. So all that we want to do is build the dirt up behind the liner, so when the landscapers come back in, we're going to keep all this water contained within the waterfall. So Fernando's coming in here and he's backfilling up against the liner as I'm standing it up. So in fact, they've got irrigation. You can see their irrigation piping here. This will be planted. Like I said, you're going to be amazed the way that this particular area turns out when they come back and finish. So we'll pretty much continue this. All right, come on down, Fernando. All the way to here, that's enough. Come to here now, and we'll we'll do one section so that they can see. So you can see how we're starting to take shape. Also inside of the liner, you can see as it goes up the hill, this is our black hosing. Just like all the waterfall construction, we keep the hosing contained within the liner itself. So as we come up and we backfill, we set the rocks. I mean, you can see now how this is starting to look. Once we've got this area completely backfilled and planted, you'll never know there's a liner, you'll never know there's a hose. It's going to look, you know, as natural as you would ever see out in nature. And that's always the main idea. Make this application, make this installation look like you just walked out into nature. And you can see how, now that we've started to bring these sods up, you can see how our stream is going to have a meandering effect. We'll just bring all this thing together as we finish the rock placement. We'll come in here with a pump truck, and I'm actually going to pump this out with they call it a 7-bag grout, but it's just a slurry without any aggregate in the concrete itself. And we'll layer this down and then place all of the flat rocks in the bottom.
At this stage, you can see that we have installed the liner, return pipe, and most of the larger rocks coming down the steepest part of the hillside. This process took about 4 days, and there's still plenty of work to be done.
All right, you can see how we're getting this thing taking shape. We've folded the liner up. You see how the body of the stream itself is not just one straight set of stairs. We're doing a little meandering effect. One of the most critical factors when you start any waterfall project, be it big or small, is the size of your reservoir basin and how much water it's going to take to get this cycle started. In our instance, of course, we've got an extremely large waterfall, which ended up to be close to 90 feet. The way that I did my calculation is I took my length of the stream, which is 90 feet. I took an average width of around 7 feet. I took a depth of 3 inches. So if I did that calculation, 90 times 7 times 0.25, since I don't have my calculator and I don't remember, I know that I calculated that it's going to take 1,200 gallons. All those numbers multiplied together are going to give you cubic feet, and then there's 7.5 gallons per cubic foot. So I know that it's going to take me 1,200 gallons to get this cycle started. So what we've done on the lower side here, you can see where our excavation is for the pump pit. We haven't gotten the liner or the pumping in there, but you can see how the hosing is going to come up and it's going to 90 down into the reservoir. So we'll end up in the pump, and that reservoir pit will be located down there so that whenever the power is turned on, that there's going to be enough reservoir in that pit to get this cycle started before it ends up in the pump again. Also, like we said earlier, another problem with this location is we're getting some natural watershed that's coming off of the hillside. I prefer not to do that, but in this case, the owner wanted to see that particular application, so hey, he's got the money, we got the time. So we're going to lay it out, we're going to get some reservoir, but what's going to happen, this reservoir is going to be a little catch basin. So we're going to get some debris that's going to build up inside of here, so periodically, he may have to clean this basin out, once, maybe twice a year, because you can get a collection of sticks and leaves and whatnot that can flow off the hillside. But also, more importantly, we're going to have to build an emergency spillway so that when we get a big rain and there's a lot of water that comes off of the hillside, that water is going to be able to be released, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to build a waterfall, so to speak, that's going to go over the backside utilizing the same liner and rock application, but it'll keep from eroding the dirt and the backfill that we've done.
After all the larger rocks had been put into place, it was time to pour the concrete that will cover the bottom of the waterfall. A pump truck was used to pump a grout mix with the earth tone dye added. Smaller rocks were then pushed into place, and the grout was smoothed to become almost invisible.
Okay, when we return, we will see the finished waterfall and talk with the landscape designer on what was done to make this project look completely natural. Welcome back. Before we see our finished project, Fred Spicer has another plant that he wants to share with us, so let's go check it out.
Ornamental grasses are a great way to get really interesting texture in the garden and movement in the garden. How many plants move with the slightest wind? Well, to my left here is pampas grass. Now this is not your garden variety pampas grass. This is one that's called pumala. And pumala, anytime you see that name attached to a plant, it generally means that something is dwarfer than the original version. Now regular pampas grass, the kind maybe that your mother or grandmother grew, is going to be a plant that reaches 12, maybe even 15 feet high, and the leaf spread on it could be up to 10 feet wide. Now it's easy to buy a small plant like that in the garden center and plant it in the wrong spot. And you don't want to plant this plant in the wrong spot. So pumala, as you can see, is only going to reach about 8 or 9 feet high, and the leaf spread on it is going to be about maybe 6, maybe 7 or 8 feet as the plant grows. Now, in the wintertime, you may, during a very, very harsh winter, see this plant turn really brown and almost die to the ground. And you're going to want to clean the leaves off of it after that kind of winter. But I'll advise you to wear some pretty sturdy gloves because the leaves on pampas grass can be very, very sharp, and they'll cut you. You can actually get a pretty good little cut from handling the leaves. So if you're careful, and if we don't have a winter, you won't have to worry about that at all. But I just love this plant for its beautiful summer blooms, and this is about as ornamental as a grass can get. So remember, when you're looking for a pampas grass, pumala is a good variety to get because it's going to be smaller than that one that's all over the place.
Thanks, Fred. Well, Chuck has finished another great project, so let's go and take a look at this monstrous waterfall.
We're out here on the project after everything's been completed, landscaping's been installed, all the grade work, everything is finished out, and we brought in Jane Ross, who was the senior architect with Ross Kelly Landscape Architects, to get her insights on the project and what she had envisioned when she first did the original conceptual design. So Jane, how did the project come along as far as what your visions were?
Well, Chuck, this was a really fun project, and the main reason it was so much fun was because it was such an incredible site. This house, we worked with the architect and the clients on siting this house on this incredible creek. And we have wooded forest going up each side of the creek bank. And the owner wanted the house to just set into the landscape like it was undisturbed and like the forest comes right up to the house itself. And at this particular site right here, we had an existing storm ravine coming down off this huge slope here. So we already had water coming down here that empties into the creek below. And we decided to take advantage of this ravine or swell, stormwater swell, and enhance it with rocks. As you well know, you put them all in place and you did an artistic, beautiful job. And we took advantage of that swell and lined it with rocks and created this beautiful waterfall, which we planted native plants along the edge of the boulders and ferns, stuff that grow naturally in this forest, surrounding forest, and created this naturalistic looking waterfall, which goes under the entrance bridge to the house itself. So it's really quite spectacular to enter the house. You enter a small portico, cross the bridge over the waterfall. You're engulfed in the sound of the water here flowing underneath it and into the house itself. And in the rear of the house is a beautiful courtyard terrace that's adjacent to this waterfall. So you not only get the sound of the water rushing down as you enter the house, you also get it as well in the side courtyard.
Right. Tell me a little bit about the plant selection that you use. Me being just a dumb fish biologist, I don't know about anything that doesn't grow out of water. Obviously, I know this is a oak leaf hydrangea, but what about some of these other plants?
Which is very common in this area. It's throughout our woods, and it's just a wonderful hardy plant, oak leaf hydrangea. Over here to my left is Virginia sweetspire, which is another wonderful deciduous native plant that we have. Both oak leaf and Virginia sweetspire lose their leaves in the fall. Right. They turn red before they lose them. And in the spring, they leaf out again and they get this wonderful white blossom, finger-like projection that comes out. And it's really quite spectacular. And both of these plants are known as riparian plants, which are plants that naturally occur along streams and creeks.
Okay.
So it makes sense to locate them here next to the waterfall. We also have some shield fern and inkberry, which is an evergreen native shrub. We'd love to use that because there's very few native evergreen shrubs that we can use effectively for screening and buffering, and also giving seasonal color in the wintertime.
Right. Well, it really looks great. I mean, the landscapers came in, took y'all's design, put all the plant material in, and it is really starting to fill out. In time, how do you kind of visualize this project aging out?
Well, in time, it's my hope that the owner will place more plants as we specified along this waterfall. You know, like any major project, when someone builds a home, usually the landscaping is last, and it's the one that gets cut, the budget gets cut. So we didn't have as many plants as we would like. We would like more plants to be installed. But in time, we'd like this to be a lush garden with branches hanging over the waterfall itself, and making it more believable as a naturally occurring waterfall in this area.
Well, it really turned out great, and I think as far as the landscape material, and like you say, the seasons that the flowers come in, that's an important factor that I know you guys always look at as far as something that's going to make it a continual, you know, growth in progress show, plants, blooms, but it was certainly a pleasure working with you, and I did enjoy it.
Thank you.
But
We enjoyed it too.
Hopefully we'll get to work again.
Let's do.
All right.
We hope you enjoyed our show today. Be sure to check out our website for more information on Backyard Oasis, where it's all about water. We'll see you next time.
Water, cool, clear water. Water running down the mighty Mississippi. Oh, water. You know there's some down there in Mobile